Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our September 5th, 2023 meeting. The time is 1 o'clock. I'm used to saying good morning, but it's good afternoon. So call the meeting to order, and I'm going to start off with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which includes Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Posile, and Georgina Island First Nations. The Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of the lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain the responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. I'll start off with if anybody has their cell phones on, they can put them on vibrate or turn them off so it doesn't disturb the meeting. And I'll remind council of declaration of pecuniary interest if it arises. There's no written declaration, so if something pops up later, declare it then. So the minutes here from the council meeting, regular council meeting August 1st and the regular council meeting August 15th. If all's in order, I'll just motion to receive them. Yep, moved by Councillor Clement, seconded by Deputy Mayor West. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, our next item here is delegations. We don't have any delegations today, so staff reports for information. There's a couple here. The first one is the report from the CAO for celebrating Havelock or Celebrate Canada Grant 2023. There's no questions around that. The next, do you have one?
Yes, I have one question for you, Mayor Martin. It says Canada Day celebrations. Is that for all the activities that went on through the summer, like Canada Day, and then what is the other one, the festival, the one the Lions Club put on? Is that for both of those?
No, through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Flagler. This report is to acknowledge the grant that it's to publicly acknowledge the grant that we received from the federal government. That grant is specifically sent to us for Canada Day celebrations.
Okay.
Go ahead.
One more question. I'm a little confused because the pictures that were sent with that, that's the celebration that the Lions Club did in summer.
Okay, there's a bit of overlap there, Bob.
There's no overlap for the grant. Social media posts attached to the report do indicate Canada Day celebration.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember I was there, and that's over at the school and stuff. So those activities were there.
Yes.
So
So
the
is that,
Canada Day, they weren't on the. They might have had overlap, but this is Canada Day. These pictures. I was there, and that was over at the school. That thing where they were doing the sledgehammer on the bell and bull riding, and that was all at the school. So. Okay. Yep, those pictures are from Canada Day, and that's what it was for. Go ahead.
Mayor Martin? Okay, I'm not recalling, maybe I've got my dates mixed up then. Because Superman and the other woman was there for the summer. I don't recall them being there for the Canada Day celebration.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And I come forth.
Through you, Mayor Martin. The images, I don't have it in front of me, but thank you. So these are images actually from Summer Fest and not Canada Day.
Correct.
That's an error on my part, actually.
Okay. All right, that's fine, thank you.
So Canada Day, they did have some things there.
We had the inflatable The same company that's correct. So both events are co-sponsored by the municipality, Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, as well as the Lions Club. The grant for Celebrate Havelock was applied for all of the activities, against the activities. And through you, Mayor Mark, there will be a separate Canada Day report that CEO Bob Angioni has asked me to bring forward. It'll be at the next council meeting, which will list the activities, highlight the full budget in terms of where the activities and the expenses were applied. So you'll see that.
Right, so was some of the funds spent on the Summerfest?
Totally separate event. It'll have a separate budget as well.
Okay.
Through you, Mayor Martin, our practice will be post-event, we'll be able to bring a budget. So you'll be able to see how our monies were applied and the breakout between the two organizations. Okay.
All right.
Okay, and then the next report is, these are reports for information, the CAO, the in-kind donations to fire and ice. Are there any questions around that report? Or comments? If not, I'll take a motion to receive the report. Moved by Councilor Doherty, seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, our next, there are the staff reports with follow-up action. And the first item here is our treasurer and the online budget public survey. There was a number of questions on there. I don't know if anybody has any suggestions with it. The only three I had were around building, roads, and fire emergency. I just wonder if those questions need to be on there because there's something we have to do anyway. Maybe I'm missing something, but I just wondered if those three questions need to be there. I don't know.
Chair, that's certainly just a recommended list, so council wants to, I can certainly have Leah remove it.
It's just some questions that leads that, like it says something is this important to you. I guess I could see both sides. Maybe there's a reason why that's there, but I just sometimes think some of the questions, it's something that we have to do. Like we don't really have any say on building permits and roads and fire and emergency. So it's just kind of one of those things we just have to do. So I just wonder if it's worth having it in the questionnaire, but it's up to council.
Chair, I think when I typically see them on these, I think it's a reflection on the amount of money perhaps that is put into these areas. So, yeah, but point taken.
It's fine. Okay, Deputy Mayor Webb,
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering a few of the categories. We're asking obviously for the public's value of the importance of each one of these, but in terms of a few, like not all of them obviously, but a few, like say customer service, say winter maintenance, is there a way we can incorporate something to ask them how they think we're doing at the moment in terms of, because I know it might be important to them, but maybe we're already doing a good job at what, and this might help us identify some of these that the public thinks that, whether it's our winter maintenance, customer service, things like that, areas that we're lacking in. Obviously, I don't want to do it for every single question, but I think there's 5 or 6 there that if we added that to it, we can kind of gauge in terms of, what we're doing well and other areas that maybe we can improve on. So I just suggest that.
But that might even go along with what I'm saying, even with roads and fire and emergency, like even if the question was like, would you like to see more money put into that? I guess, and maybe that's what you're leading to with these questions. Go ahead.
If you sure we could put in a free form box that speaks to how are we doing, perhaps that might help and get to that question for each one. Then they could say exactly how they felt rather than clicking a radio button.
Sorry to interrupt on 3 minutes. Yeah, so some of them, like said, like parking bylaw enforcement, obviously, we haven't even started that. So those questions, but I think if we go through there, if there's 15 or 20, maybe, as I said, 5, 6, 7 in there, if we put that in there, kind of as the mayor alluded to around our certain departments and how the public's perceiving what they're doing. So thank you.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Lionel, how closely does this represent last year's survey?
Future, it's a bit different. We looked at a bunch of other municipalities. We took a look at some responses from last year, so it's. I'd say it's about half and half, some new ideas. For people to consider in council, so. Yeah, mixture.
Through you. There's a couple things in there, like one, we finally got it on the budget. And it goes out in the newsletter, the portion of money that we get from the taxes. I think it's a bit of a overall survey. I think it should, my opinion only, should be shortened up and more specific, because I'm just going by what I do. So I see a survey, got lots of questions to ask. I generally buzz on over it and get out of it and go into something else. I guess I'm looking for a quick hit. It's a suggestion.
I can, yeah, there's a couple of ones, questions for informational purposes, such as the 48% of the tax levy. And the next one about how much of the taxes levied in residential, those can be taken out very easily. So I do agree that sometimes surveys can be too long and your word of mouth goes down if the person says, well, it took me 10 minutes to do as opposed to 5.
Yeah, so overall, like from last year's survey, I remember, because I've said it enough times at all these AGMs I've done this year, is the priorities last year were roads, environment, and nature and parks. So it did give you some direction as far as for council to consider when we did the budget, and I think that's what this is for. So, yeah, like if you could keep it as simple as can be, and get the answers. The big thing is we need the answers to know what people are thinking, I think is all we're trying to do here, so.
As the chair, would council like me to take out those two that are more for informational purposes? I certainly can.
Yeah, if that. Sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Clement.
So through you, so I agree on eliminating the one about the 93%, because that's sort of redundant. I'd like to see the 48 left in. It makes them realize not, we don't keep all their money. I'd like to leave that one in. The other suggestion I did have is if we're going to, which ward of the township you reside in own property, township, village, or both? Because that makes us realize how many people are contributing, or whatever. I just thought maybe we'd add an extra box there, said both, whatever. I'm gonna do this one yet.
I missed it, but never once do we ask them, do we want to grow?
Assumption. I'm sorry.
It's an assumption we want to grow.
Well, most people not thinking you're going to grow.
I don't know what the
Okay.
perception is.
Fair enough.
Just a question. I didn't see any. I didn't know whether it was something we wanted to do. Thanks.
Mayor Martin, we do have that already. How important are planning and growth management services to you?
Yeah.
Right?
And then, yeah, okay, and if that's fine, that's good.
So sure, I'm happy to put in something that gets to the growth. If the council would like to.
Even that one line, if you wanted to expand on that line, even like if how important is growth for you, like, you know, in that same, without adding another question. To try and keep it short, if you can combine it with one of the questions, or I don't
That
know,
one's-
are they two different things?
Sure, that one's about the services, so I think to get to Councillor Doherty's point, we might have to add one, but Leah can do that quite easily.
I don't care. I just was. Because in order to grow, we're gonna have to spend what 5.2 to bring up the sewer plant. And if we don't get a grant, it's gonna be taxpayer driven to accomplish 80 lots. So that's maybe that was
Mayor Martin. This question here, how important are building permits? Can we get rid of building permits? Inspection and enforcement services. Like when you say building permits. Does that mean we can eliminate the building permits?
Future, I think how that was worded was about how important are these services to you? For instance, if a person has lived on the same property for 50 years and doesn't really want to add, or they don't feel the enforcement is important to them, it's just a matter of for a question to kind of assess that, like if it's a functional area and then how much you use it, how important is it to you? It's not the fact that we can get rid of it, it's just personally, I would like to see a ranking, but the software doesn't allow that. So this is just a way of assessing, how much that set of services is important to each person.
Right, so if everybody comes back and says not important. To me, it means you're eliminating all those services.
Through chair, no, since we can't do that legally, it wouldn't mean that. It's maybe an interesting way of seeing, and maybe in a roundabout way, getting to what Councilor Doherty was asking about in terms of growth. I mean, is building permits important to you? And if it's not important to anybody, perhaps that's how people feel with growth. But we can't get rid of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where are we at now as far as, I think Councilor Clemens said, as far as the 48%, I think it's good to leave that in there so people realize we don't get it all. So it does let that somewhere else, it will be in the budget anyways, as far as the breakdown. When we do the breakdown in the budget, it'll have that pie that shows how much we get and how much the county gets and how much the school board gets anyways, so. I don't know, there's, but the questions are there, if there's anything you would, suggest being pulled, I think, we've talked about it here and, I think they all have a reason why they're there, like as far as, it's like those surveys you get where they ask the same question in a different way. So some of these might just lead you to a different answer and then you can compare if they really meant it or didn't mean it. So as far as I'm concerned, the survey is a survey and it'll get us the answers we need of what people are looking for. And there's a lot there. If you want to shorten it, say what you want to get pulled out. If not, we can, receive it and move ahead. The motion to approve the survey as is. So any adjustment you would like, do it now as part of as a motion. Okay, Lionel, then Barry.
I was just gonna say, through chair, that maybe we could have, not to make it longer, but if somebody has the thought that it's too long, maybe there should be a free form box that says, do you have any comments about the survey? I think it's too long, then say it's too long, and then we'll open it.
That might open up.
All right,
Yeah. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I think we can receive the report and then suggest some things that we may want to put in or put out and still have it on September 15th. Because the survey is not due to go on the website, it went to the 29th.
Through chair, don't have in front of me, but that sounds about right.
So we still have time to, I know it's going to rush at your end, but that would be what I'd suggest, but
Okay.
I can make a motion to that effect if you want.
Okay, I'll just go to.
You know where you want the growth in there, right? That question, where do you determine that, I think?
Some
Okay,
form
so
of that.
I'll make a motion that we change the planning growth management, how important question to how important is growth in HPM in terms of, new housing. I don't know, there's obviously we can figure out what we're gonna put in brackets to describe the growth, but and just put a general question and leave that as that very important, fairly important. We should be able to gauge it.
I just like to see it 2 pages quick and dirty and maybe have more categories and ranking as opposed to, that's just. As I said, it's a personal thing. As surveys, when I see they're too long, I just hit delete and away we go. And we want them to fill it out. That's the whole idea, I think.
Okay, so if you could change, so the motion would be that we change that one line there to growth and that's what I'm hearing.
I'm gonna leave that. I want that motion there just to make sure that that's done. And if you want to make a motion after to get what you want to do, then go ahead.
Yeah, motion that we change that
Just
one.
change
line.
the one layout planning growth services to how important is growth
Okay.
in HPM.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Okay, seconded by Councilor Doherty. Any questions around the motion? All in favor? And that's carried.
Then I'll make a motion that we've received the report and get back to Bob Lionel with respect to any change to come back to the 15th of September's meeting so that we can get it on the website, so we can get it back for October the 20th, I think is still gives ample time.
Okay, so the motion is that we bring back on the 15th. With the change on it. Okay, seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb. Question?
I was only getting Lionel to eliminate one thing and make one change. That means it's gonna be the same when we come back on the next council meeting.
With that line changed, and in the meantime, I think what people want to look at and see if there's anything.
If you're asking Lionel to admit something, don't we have to have that passed? Like
It would come back on the 15th.
on the Gantt, so we're going through it again. Okay, all right, fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, so hopefully between now and the 15th, with that change on there, hopefully we can, on the 15th, it'll just be to receive it. Hopefully the changes are done and we can, if there's any amendments, we can do them then. And get it passed for the 29th. What's that?
Wouldn't we brought back on the 15th?
That's what I mean.
Would we not be approving as opposed to receiving it? Or
We'll be approving it with the changes, and if there's any other changes, so we can get it on for the 29th of September for the website, so. Okay, so I had a mover and a seconder, all in favor, and that's carried. All right. Next item here is reserves and reserve fund management. Well done, Lionel. I went through and it's a lot of the things that we talked about have been brought out there, and you know, it shows the admin reserve has been a dumping area that we've been putting a lot of the grants and things into. And it shows where our other grants that we created in the budget are there. You know, and so overall, how much is there in the 17 million? And if you add all of your lines up there in the appendix, it adds up. That it's not all free money. So I don't know what council thoughts are on this thing, but it's going in the right direction, I think anyways, so thank you. So. Council thoughts on this? Go ahead.
The question, thank you very much for this, Lionel. We've got broken down to I got a whole bunch of different reserves here. Some of them, you've given us one example in terms of the page with the actual numbers on it with admin. I'll just use this for an example. So for here, we've got fire department with the reserve of 1.3. And then we've got renamed fire capital. So are we just gonna have the whole fire reserve would just be fire capital, or because I thought we talked about possibly having an capital operating for some of these departments.
Future, we certainly can. I thought it was important because in previous years, and a lot of municipalities do that, they combine the two. I think it's good to have operating capital separated for a lot of different reasons. So we can have additional reserves for any of these areas for both capital and operating. It's just a matter of how many reserves do we want to have. A lot of the time, municipalities, in terms of operating expenses, they have a combined tax rate mitigation reserve, stabilization reserve, so that if there's an issue with an operating expense, fire, another area, they can draw from that. But to your point, yeah, we can most definitely, when we develop a wholesome policy after the asset management program is completed, have an additional one for operating as well. And before it was probably used as both, but I think it's a bit clearer when we know like this one is for operating, this one is for capital. So
through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, I think it would, thank you for that. I think it would give some of the managers a little bit of help in terms of what's there, especially more on the operating side. Well, I guess on both sides in terms of their projects too on the capital side, but just so they kind of have a better grasp of what's there in each pile instead of looking at one big pile, So the other question I had was the example of the admin reserve that we have broken down here. Where sorry, I guess it's up top. So the admin, now I found it there. So the admin actual reserve would be 500,000 under.
You sure under this proposal, it would go from being the global 7 million to it just being 500,000 for the admin reserve that council could draw upon during the budget or other times, and the rest of that 7 million would be shown with all the detail below it. Just to be a bit more transparent about what it all is comprised of.
Yeah, I know the 500 is just a number that you've thrown in there. I know that's not the actual number, but.
Future, that's
Or is it?
well, future, that would be what it would, the number would be as of the end of the last audited statement, so. What was done here is taken a lot of the changes that were proposed via the last budget. A lot of those being the council initiatives, adding some other, best practice items that a lot of municipalities have. So the 500,000, each one of these would have some sort of like a genesis, like for instance, the legal and liability would be an estimate based on, say, for instance, an estimate of value of legal issues at any point in time. And the policy would eventually have a range. So we'll see next year, it's okay, legal and liability, council would be approving a range for each one, say 2 million to 3 million, and that would be based on X. So it's not like we can tie a lot of these down to an exact number, but what I'd like to see eventually is, okay, council says this reserve should be between this and that. And this is why, and this is how we get there if we're below, or this is what we should do if we're above. So it's 500,000 is an estimate. It's not tied down to anything necessarily.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps.
No, that's good. I appreciate it. You explained that well, so thank you very much on it.
Okay. Any other questions around the report?
Sure,
Go ahead.
Page 64, it's, I guess, what the capital reserve is, municipalities may have reserves for replacing the vehicles and equipment, often do not have adequate reserves for waterways, roads, and other major services. Relevance, I guess I'm looking for. It's what's that mean?
For the future, what does the comment mean, or is it a question like whether that's
Yes or yes, that's it, whatever.
by relevance, you mean why was it written in there, or why was it included, or?
Yeah,
Okay. Because I thought it was relevant. This is just looking at other.
or it's more of a statement, really. And our asset management report comes out, and I think we're supposed to be following it, and we got a new one coming out. So I was just curious as to why it was in. Anyway, thanks, Lionel. And then the next page 65 through you, Mr. Mayor, it says working funds, and I won't read it all to you. What it says for unpredictable revenue sources. We're concerned about having too much revenue.
Do you sure? No, that would be good if we did. But sometimes when it can be unpredictable down, it can be unpredictable up. So if a revenue source was unpredictable in terms of its level, not meaning too high, but too low, then we have to plan for that, because it'd be like our expenses being too high. The corollary with revenue would be unpredictably low. So if we find that revenue from parking one year is way lower than we thought it would be in the budget, this would help.
Yeah, and through you, Mr. Chair, I guess that was the reason last year when I asked a question on the budget time, how many of our revenue streams are over or short? Because that reflects back on how we budget, and because that's where this really comes in, because I think any revenue stream, unless it's fixed per month, it's going to be unpredictable. Building permits.
Well, the one that we always get stuck on is winter maintenance, and if you have a bad winter and you spend all your money by the end of April, you're really hoping in December we don't get any snow because we didn't allow enough money. I've seen that so many times. So that's one that when we run short, that's one that it happens all the time. So
To sure, yeah, unpredictability, it probably more so with expenses. I mean, if we were a bigger city and we had transportation, for example. I know that was been a massive issue for municipalities, urban centers, census metropolitan, municipalities, especially during COVID. Here, it's not quite as big a deal with our revenues. I mean, unless our parking tickets or AMP revenue got to be such a size that actually is material in terms of our budgeting, but yeah, I think the unpredictability would fit more with the expenses probably for us than revenue.
For my time, I would think so. Thank you. And then I may have one more. It's a reserve structure review. This is the structure of municipal reserves must be reviewed regularly to ensure that this assists in the supporting financial management of flexibility. What exactly does that mean? We're going to review them regularly. Is that every 2 years, every year, every 6 months, or what is your intent with that particular
Future, I would suggest once a term. I think
term of council?
we can always make changes through chair throughout the term, but this is a fairly large review. This is quite a chain, quite a group of changes we're making. So I think while we're open to changes at any time, I think to go through all of this and do this deep dive that we're doing in the next little while, that's what I would suggest. Certainly open to other thoughts.
I'm confused. What do you mean deep dive? These are reserves that we, through bylaws, have put the money in there and establish it, and then. So we say we really putting the numbers around that each individual one. Is that what was? I'm just a little confused. That's all. Okay, thank you.
So once we get this thing, the AMP done, so a lot of these things around the reserves, like we do look at them every year at budget time, as far as if one of them falls short, we will adjust it at that time in individual reserves, but the main structure is what you're talking about, is it not? Yeah. So the other reserves in, say, fire, if we get to budget time and we had a shortfall, we might have to adjust it mid-term, or, maybe you never know, you could have to do it a couple times in the term. But the whole structure of this, the main thing here is like you say, the deep dive, and you wouldn't do that every year, that's for sure. So. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, on the example page there again, my final infrastructure and asset management capital. What kind of projects would come out of that? And like now it's just listed as general capital projects. So I mean, what kind of projects would be funded out of that?
Future, that would be supporting any deficits that would come out of the asset management study. There are so many different areas, and this will be a projection well into the future as to what we need and what we should have right now, and how much we should be putting in every year. So this would be to kind of like a global fund for any of our infrastructure components.
Okay, and that obviously you said that's gonna be done in 2024, right? Asset management we brought. So any department that has something that needs to be brought up to date just draws out of this, then draw out of this reserve, or their own, or how would that, like, I'm just trying to get at, because on our side, we're obviously we know about some of this, so we've been budgeting for it, or the manager's been budgeting, so there should be money in those reserves as well. So to me, I've got two reserves here, right? That we're drawing from.
A future, there probably has been sufficient money put aside in some areas for the future. I think what this reserve and reserves like in other municipalities are getting to is that when we do these asset management studies, what may come out of that hasn't been dealt with. So it could be anything from stormwater to sewer expenses to waste management. So it's just something to have, and depending on what the expense is, I mean, that could be sufficient, it may not be sufficient. So I think we'll have even a better idea of what range we should have in that area once the MP is finished.
Okay. And when we get that, will we have a general number of, like, will you be able to calculate a general number of if this is gonna cover it, or if it's gonna be double or triple, you know what I mean? That'd be easy for you to do, or,
Yeah, future, the idea I would have and the policy, I would see the proposed policy as having a lot of different components. I think it's on the last page. And one of those components would be based on the MP to have a range, because to just have one number, it's kind of doesn't take into account the unpredictability of expenses, especially with inflation. So I think the MP would give us a range of expenses. So yeah, we could come up with a number. I'd see it more as a couple of numbers, minimum, maximum, maybe for each reserve.
okay. Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. So once we get this done next year, would you foresee us getting rid of this reserve? Or do you see it as keeping it possibly, as you said, just maybe as a contingency in case something?
Future, I see it being refined for sure. I mean, we could have, based on the AMP, very specific ones for each area. Or, and perhaps get rid of this one, or we could have an adjusted number for this in case one area needs money, if something comes up, I don't know what that case would be. So that would certainly be up to council.
Good. I don't mind it being there, just I'm worried about when we do it with the Department of Reserves, it kind of gives council a level of accountability of what's going on. So that if something, isn't being budgeted for or whatever, we can kind of track it. But I mean, if we're pulling money out of a general fund, right, to cover for one or two of these departments, then it's hard to really know who's carrying the weight and who's not, so.
Wayne Hartson. I'm sorry, maybe everybody else is comfortable with reviewing this every 4 years. I don't know how you can do a reserve fund and review it every 4 years. I'm having trouble getting my arms around that, because this is something that to me, we have to have tension on a regular basis, because we need to know, because I mean, inflation changes, our needs change, our revenue and expense more probably the expense side more than anything. So, and I don't really consider this, to be quite frank, a deep dive. This is just bringing us up to speed as to what's in the money. What did the council put away the money for, and have we spent it on that? That's what I get out of the reserve fund, but maybe I'm misinterpreting it. But
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Webb, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I understand your point, Councillor Doherty. I've thought about it too, in maybe 2 years, but I don't know if two years goes pretty quick. I mean, it's a long process, but probably by the time we get done, this is gonna be close to another year almost from now, right, Lionel? In the next year?
Future, yeah, once the AMP is done now, that part will certainly, we have to make sure we meet legislative deadlines for 2025 as well. And after that, you know, as is the case right now, there aren't any massive changes coming after 2025. But that could change. But essentially, every municipality is supposed to have an asset management program for every asset by the end of 2025. So it won't be as big a process after that point.
And I understand, as I said, I understand your point about wanting to review it. I like to review things as much as possible. But I think, as I said, if we get this done, we've been doing this now for 6 months, it'll be another couple of months. We should have a good reserve policy hammered out by the end of this. I would be open to, like, maybe every year kind of looking at it on, as you said, an inflation basis. So like kind of what Lionel alluded to, most of these reserves we'll get a range, or we should be able to get a range that we want that reserve in. And once we get that range and we can hopefully have money, or the money to fill that range, then it's just a matter of Lionel, to me, plugging in the inflation numbers from year to year, right?
Future,
To keep it
to a certain extent.
Well, I'm saying, yeah, there'll be tweaks, but you're a smart guy, and I imagine you can figure that out. And to your point, yes, that maybe once a year, Lionel brings that report, says, here we are, this is what I'm doing with the reserve. I'm gonna, bump these up by, say inflation was 3.5, we're gonna do 3.5 or 4% to do all these. And if there was a problem, then obviously we could call a meeting and have it, but in terms of just. Doing this year after year, right? Like it's been a big project already. We're still not even finished it here. And I just don't want to be doing this kind of, as I said, every 6 months. No, I don't think we have to. I think we got a good group here that can figure this out. So.
Yeah,
So-
I think so, yeah. Go ahead.
I think we're down to two things.
Yeah.
Number one is the policy and the other is the fund. And I guess I'm interested in what changes are we making to the reserve fund policy that we had before now? Because this appears to be brand new right off the press. So we didn't have one before, or we did, and because that makes a bit more sense if we're establishing something new.
See, Chair, there was one brought forward in 2021. It doesn't have any of the components listed on the back page of this report. It was, from my recollection, very, it was educational in terms of the need for reserves. I don't think it had the level of detail that council wishes, so I would consider this a complete redo.
Yeah, like once it's all like, so reserves, we will look at them. Every budget we see, like if there's a problem, we're looking, like, so there's two different things and this is the main structure. This is the, you know, it's all basically brand new. So when this is done in 2024, I think a lot of the things that we're looking for are there, and going through your appendix there, it answered a lot of my questions as far as, because we always talk about the carryovers and things like that. It shows where they are and it shows, you know, I kept using one thing all the time and, you know, coming in and talking to you. And I think that's the other part of this is come in and talk to you, because that helped a lot for me when I came in and seen you last week about this. That's what we gotta do, talk to you, and it's easier to explain that way, and it straightened out a lot of things for me, so. But for today, you know, there is a recommendation on here, and I think, as far as, it may not all be there, but we're heading in the right direction as far as the, you know, once we get this thing done. Like 2024 for this part of it, and you're saying it has to be done, it's legislated by 2025, that the whole AMP thing is done, that, so this is just one part.
In future, there's been about 4 or 5 deadlines, 5 deadlines in total. The next one, of course, July 1st was 2024. And then by 2025, it has to be absolutely complete. Right now, there's only certain pieces of infrastructure and capital assets that have to be included in your asset management program, but by 2025, it's absolutely everything. Within reason, I mean, we're not going to be, you know, putting tables like this in there, but all intents and purposes, all of your assets. So this is a big one because this is the one coming up in 2024 includes most of the major assets. So yeah, by 2025, that part will be done, the inventorying aspect of it. And from that point on, it should be a matter of just keeping up with it every year. We got to make sure that if something is disposed of, whether sold or scrapped, it comes off. And that's why it's going off in a bit of a tangent. That's why managers, it's going to be an educational component in the program where all the managers have to be comfortable with software, because from its original inception forward, accuracy is going to be really key in terms of additions, disposals, changes to life cycle for specific assets. So it's going to provide great information. It's just it has to be like a living sort of document.
Okay. So, all right, so the recommendation here is that changes to the structure of the reserves and reserve funds that are held in the township as set out in attached appendix 1, consolidation and closing of reserve and reserve fund are hereby approved as presented. That would be the motion. If anybody feels comfortable moving that. Deputy Mayor Webb's moving it. Councilor Clement is seconding it. Any questions? All in favor? And that's carried. So, right. Next item here is Parks and Rec events held on municipal property. Yeah. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Request for events held on municipal property.
Yes, that's correct. We briefly spoke a few meetings ago about changes how we rented our town hall. And this is something that staff had come up with. When you're online, looking at this hard in paper form, but when you're online, you can click and then different options come up with your needs for your event. And that gets sent to me and then I hand that over to you.
And that would give us some paperwork to follow and if anything pops up.
That's correct. I'll give you some insight and just for information purposes.
That's a surprise. So.
Through Mr. Mayor, now this form would be for Hot Lake Library, Stone Hall, Town Hall, Cadova Hall, Library. All of those are those in there, or were you just thinking of one in particular?
Through you, Mayor, if we were to add all of them, we would have to make some other changes. As we're not necessarily in full grasp of things like the Stone Hall and some other things. But yeah, most of our facilities that we have control over that we rent out, that's primarily the arena grounds, the town hall, Rotary Park.
Eventually you could get to all of the properties then.
I think that's the goal.
No, this is for people that are gonna say, I'm gonna rent the town hall. But I don't need Township to be there, so I'm not understanding why.
No, this would be for, do you want to put on a Canada Day celebration, or you wanna have a fish fry, or you wanna,
Right, and then the people are requesting services from the parks. And it says the start of the day of your event, and it doesn't really do start time of the event. Indicate the end time of the event. Where's the section where it asks for, oh, never mind. It's on the next thing, sorry, Josh.
so you remember, the more things you click on, the more options you have, so.
Right, so this is gonna tell us that, okay, the Lions Club is gonna rent the arena, but we need municipal staff from 6 to 8 or whatever. Are these hours now gonna be charged to the companies that are hosting, or are we just keeping this for our records?
3D memorandum, that's something that you can consider, for instance, at the Lions Fish Fry, if you wanted them to cover staff wages or what have you.
Right. That, it's not really giving times or how many hours. It's just, it gives the option of the municipal staff on site for the event. Can you click more than one if you need all of those? Like if I need after service?
Absolutely.
All of it, eh? Okay, all right. Okay.
So something like this would work even when we get like Cox Lake has their regatta and you're gonna use the beach area there. This would be a simple thing just to say, so you know enough that you gotta have the grass cut for that weekend. It always comes to council anyways, but this is just something so we have some paper trail, right?
Yeah, so we always do that anyhow, like if it's gonna be poor weather a few days, we would do obviously a little bit before than normal, but yeah, this is just a proper procedure, renting it or at least having knowledge of events.
Councilor Clement?
Is this on here now, Josh, on site?
Through your memory,
Couldn't find it.
it's still in the,
That's
it's still in the process.
Okay, no, that's, I just wanted to know, because I just wanted to sort of see, kind of click through too.
If depending on how the meeting goes, it would be brought in.
Okay, gotcha.
Mr. Mayor, I had a question. I'm still confused. This form is now meant for what facilities? What's our aim here? Town Hall, Lions Center, like, what do we have in mind?
Through Mayor Martin, when this, depending on how this meeting goes, it could be for everything. Like, you're like, Mayor Martin mentioned the regatta, anything that's held on municipal property would come through this process.
It could be expanded to everything that you were asking, Jerry, as far as like the stone hall. Like, you know, to get a better handle on what the buildings are being used for. Once you get everything fine tuned here, we would have a better idea of what our buildings are being used for, whether it's the town hall, stone hall, Cordova, those types of things. That's the aim, right?
That's true.
Okay, Councillor Clement and then Councillor Doherty.
So through you, Mayor Martin. So right now, Josh, if, say, okay, so the Lions look after the Lions. And if you want to rent the hall, if you go through, that's not maybe a good example. Cordova, the rec hall. If I want to rent it, do I go through this procedure or do I go to somebody on the Cordova rec hall?
Through somebody on the Cordova record.
And then would they go through this?
Not necessarily, but if you wanted a wedding on the lawn, you would go through.
Oh, sorry. But it's not, it says to be reviewed and approved by council.
That's correct.
Okay, so I apply to the rec department in Cordova, who brings it to us, is that? To council review, or how, procedurally, I'm trying to get my arms.
Through you, Mayor Martin. So it's challenging because we have facilities that are run by user groups that aren't necessarily staffed, so. That wouldn't necessarily pertain to that, but the grounds would be us, so.
So the Lions Hall and the Stone Hall and the Cordova Rec, those buildings wouldn't be a part of this right now.
No,
If just the grounds are
the grounds, yes.
that we look at, but not the building for the rentals. The Lions look after the rental for the arena.
Yes.
The
And Cordova Rec Department.
Fox Lake looks after the library back there, so they would just continue what they're doing.
Unless you want to change that, yes.
Okay,
And then the Stone Hall, if we were to change that.
So I guess it's an idea. We're gonna have to educate people because I guess I would automatically think that it would be the building on the property, not versus the property. So, you know, again, going back to the Lions or the Cordova Rec, if they're exempt, we need to explain to people who needs to use this thing.
giving Ed,
Are there any further questions?
Not out, because
I'm happy to.
There is a list of the area grounds, the Rotary Park, Havelock, the beach. So if you're using the arena inside, you use the arena grounds, park and or ball diamond, the Rotary Park and Cashbox.
Okay,
That's what we're keeping track of, correct?
okay, sorry. Sorry, yeah, I think, yeah, that's better. Yeah, okay.
okay. I think the other stuff will be for, you know, if we want to expand it, the capabilities are here. If we want to get into that, I think we already went through that with the Lions agreement there. Right now, they're doing the bookings there. So
It's good. I thought we had a joint booking system.
Yes.
So the Lions are doing it, or it's a joint booking system? They can book through us and municipality, or they can book through the Lions. Maybe I missed that part of the lease, I'm not sure.
So through you, Mayor Martin, the arrangement with the Lions Club, with respect to the Lions Hall. The Lions Club books the Lions Hall for their events. The township has opportunity to use it whenever we need it. We do have a shared calendar with the Lions, so that when we require the Lions Hall, we book it in. But other than that, the Lions Hall, the arrangement with the Lions Club is that they book the Lions Hall and take the revenues from those bookings.
So that this form wouldn't apply to them because they have the right to do that. And they aren't requesting any help from HBM in terms of in-kind right?
That is correct. Okay, that is correct. They look after the hall themselves, they clean up after themselves. That's correct.
On the ones that they book it through themselves, they,
Correct.
yeah. Okay. So hypothetically now, the jammers, are they gonna have to do one every week for you? And then get that approved by us prior to them getting in? I'm just trying to get the logistics, Josh. I just don't know. I like the idea because we can actually establish how often our municipal buildings are being used. And I think part of the donation thing we come before is that we want to have an idea of what we're spending in kind, not necessarily to make the charges at least like less like this, that. But I like the idea. I'm just not sure logistically that this will work. That's all I'm concerned about. I like it. I like the idea because then we'd know, but I'm just not sure how it's going to work. Because if somebody wanted to rent the hall this afternoon, they can't get approval till the 15th.
Through your memory, this would be more for, this, not necessarily arena rentals, town hall rentals. It's more for somebody wanted to have a wedding at the Rotary Park. Somebody wants to put on a Summerfest on the arena grounds. Somebody wants to have a wedding on Kosh Beach, this sort of thing. Not necessarily.
So to do it every week,
Right.
like, there is a question there, is select the length of your event, multiple day, one day. So if somebody wants to rent it every week on Wednesday, they would just select multiple day, and we would know that it's booked those days on the calendar.
And 30 days in advance.
Yeah, like most would do it at the beginning of the year, I would hope, and. Councilor Flagler, go ahead.
Yes, Josh, I think it's great. It's awesome job. I think you've got all the questions right. And I think the most important thing we need to know is how many hours our staff is actually working at these events, and this will keep track of that. Because on the last one there, it says, municipal staff on site, you know, do you have the services prior? Yes. If you're clicking all 4 boxes and then you're putting down, well, we need 100 hours. I mean, I think we need to have something like this in order to keep track. Because some of these events, like a wedding, for instance, why would you be at the park for a wedding? Other than to cut the grass.
That would be my.
Right, which you cut the grass anyway for there, so there would be no charge for your service.
Well,
Right?
just the timing.
Yeah, it would be just a timing
Yeah.
thing, because you're not doing, you're not going in, okay,
And through your memory to make us aware of what's happening.
that's right, yeah, I get it. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, so recommendation here is that council hereby approves the implementation, holy jumping. It's have a request for approval of events to be held on municipal property. So,
I will pass.
okay, moved by Councilor Flagler, seconded by Councilor Clement. Any other questions? All in favor? That's carried. Great. The next item here is the Patterson Parkette with regard to some trees and plaque. So Josh, go ahead.
So the purpose of the report is to direction on the relocation of the bell and 3 trees that are on the south side of the parkette.
So we were to look at it and there was some suggestions there. So are you clear on what council was looking for?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then. And so the recommendation is here that we approve the adjustments at the park there. Go ahead.
Where's the bell going?
Yes, I was just gonna say,
I think it's going in the garden.
yeah, if we can clarify through your memory, and council would clarify the location of the bell.
Okay. So the idea there was to put it on a piece of stone in the garden on the northeast corner of the park.
That's right.
So near the street. So is that okay?
Like on a pedestal, or if we're not just setting?
On a
it?
rock, on
Okay.
an armor stone rock.
Really setting it in the garden, right?
Yeah, they're just gonna bolt it down to a rock and so you don't have to put a pad.
So you, Mayor Martin, plus the plaque
The
is.
plaque there,
Sign it.
so the plaque though, we haven't nailed that down yet, so suggestion I had was that it was donated by the Bernal or Slavin family. I'm not sure what name would go on there. We should speak to them. They donated the bell back to the township. It was up in Peterborough. But so it'd be nice to get a plaque that has a picture of the old high school on there and, you know, make something nice for it. That's just my suggestion and what it was donated from. At least people have an idea where the bell came from and as far as in the township. So it was up on the hill at the old apartment building.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, we will need to confirm the wording
Mhm.
and whatever we would like on the plaque before we can confirm a price.
Yeah.
And get that done.
So to look at a plaque with some sort of a picture and some wording on donated by, you know, and maybe in whatever year the picture of the school was taken at, if it's, it looks at something I had here, it's probably in the late sixties, early seventies, I would think, but it was the last year of it, but we can find that out and, you know, look in our archives, find out when it was and maybe get a, you know, an old picture of it. So that might have to come back as an idea, but that's just one idea for me. If anybody else has any ideas, bring them up now and then staff can bring back some recommendations and some costing. Because like you said, there's gonna be costing to, you know, even a picture. I don't know what it's worth, but to mount it on a, you know, piece of metal or something like that and put it in the garden with the bell.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
For
Councillor
you,
Fleming.
Mayor, Martin. Yes, so where the bell, you understood where the bell was gonna go. Was the plaque also discussed out there as well?
Through you, Mayor Martin, the plaque location was briefly discussed, so that is an idea that we could have a flat plate, remove some of the garden material and fasten it to the rock bottom and then bury that back in relation, close proximity to the bell.
On the rock that you're purchasing to put in the garden?
The interior existing rock that's already there.
Okay.
We could. Whatever you like.
That's. I know you were at the park, I was at the park, but that was not discussed with me. So, anyway, thank you, Josh, that's fine.
So at this point, Mayor Martin, can we just arrange to move the bell?
Yeah.
And then wait till later?
All straightforward, the plaque, everybody's got different ideas, so.
Well, I thought, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. I thought we discussed that it would be put on some kind of pedestal. And now what I'm hearing is, I don't know if we're trying to save money here, but we're just gonna shift it and bolt it to another rock. Like, if we're gonna do this, let's make it look nice. That's what I
Okay,
thought.
so I think what happened there, we were all split up there, so Councillor Doherty was talking about it going in that garden, and one of the suggestions came about putting it on a rock. I had suggestion, it's cheaper than buying cement, you can get a piece of armor stone that it fits on. And put it in the garden with it.
That's fine too, but
Yeah.
it just sounded to me like we were gonna take it and bolt it to
No,
the rocks that are already there. No,
Through your memory, it's gonna be in the garden, within a piece of rock.
Cause it's gonna go inside the garden.
in the garden.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
so then the plaque will be right beside it, on what side? Just.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a separate part.
that's what I was gonna say, is if we had some pedestal and you mounted it, you could put the plaque on the pedestal.
Yeah, like that's what I think Josh is saying, it could go on the rock that it's, or in front of the rock that it's.
Through you, Mayor Martin, when we have everything that we want, we'll have an idea of how big this plaque will be, we'll have a better idea of how we're gonna have it.
Okay. That'd be good.
Not trying to count it.
Go ahead.
I think the two are connected because if you're gonna have a plaque and you get a lock this small and a plaque this big, now we're back in the problem. So I think it has to be kind of done similar to, we know it, and I think the idea of putting it on a rock in the flower garden is to elevate it, not put it down, is to put it up and have it. So if you do that, then we can kind of get a place for the plaque, but just to say we're gonna do the plaque later, we might have to move the thing again to get enough room to put it on the.
No, you'll see what kind of, we don't even know how big a plaque it is. So you know what? Maybe we should just receive it today because we don't know how big a plaque we need. That's another piece of it. To me, a simple thing would be to find a piece of rock that it'll fit on. Then you'll see how big of room you have to work. It might be something like you said, where it would be something attached to the rock with a plaque, like some sort of a standoff on the rock. It might be a big enough rock that you can fit the plaque. Maybe the plaque's only gonna be this big. I don't know how big it's gonna be. But we'll know what we got to work with. If the rock is in there and a suitable rock for that bell, because the rocks that we have there now it won't fit. It's a lot bigger than it looks. So we know it's gonna go in the garden. We know we need a piece of armor stone to make it fit on. Is that armor stone gonna be a foot thick or is it gonna be 3 inches thick? I have no idea, but once you get it in there, then you can make a suitable, attach something suitable to the rock, whether it can go on the rock or it has to have a standoff on the rock. We'll know better then, but right now, the idea is if we're okay with moving the rock. And this is something that isn't our thing, it's just make it work. And staff, I'm sure, will make something work there that we just know that we wanted it off of there and we wanted to have some input that it goes in the garden is what council decided up there. You know, there's gonna be a plaque going on it later. We don't know what that's gonna look like, but we can make that work too. Maybe we'll have to go back for another visit to say, yeah, that's, I like that, or I don't. But so go ahead.
Well, just to, and you made the point, Mr. Mayor, that you'd like to have a picture of the schoolhouse on there, so I believe that the plaque would have to be of not big, but I mean of some size, right? So possibly if we have Josh investigate, if obviously we can get the plaque with the picture on it and what that size would be, and then go from there.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the size of the rock, I think, is gonna be dependent on the size of the plaque we're gonna put on it. So
okay.
I think you want, is that okay?
So,
And the shape.
Or whatever, yeah, you know,
shape.
yeah, well, no, exactly, but just so it looks, you know, it's centered and not bigger than the rock.
so what's the motion here? Let's
Well,
get her going here.
Through you, Mr. Would it be, it's gonna be 2 parts because we're not, at least maybe we've changed our mind, but we're not removing 3 red maple trees. Did we discuss that we're going to be doing a red and a green?
Yeah.
So
Red and 2 green.
3 trees.
a red and 2 greens.
That's you.
How many did you have?
I know, but if you're gonna pass the amendment and say take out 3 maples, that's what the direction says.
Well, the direction would be the three that you made at our meeting, right?
Great weather, isn't it? Warm.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the motion here? There's 3, it says red maples in the recommendation. It sounds like it's 2 green maples and a red maple.
Okay,
And so,
let's make a motion to pass that to Josh.
yeah, you're moving that, move
Yeah.
the 1 red maple and 2
One
green.
red.
The ones identified by council to Josh. Motion is get them out of there.
Because we can get it done, those done now.
Okay.
Probably another month away, but
We
for the
can
weather.
get them done now because we're passing the motion. We don't have to bring it back with the rocks, I guess is what I'm
When the
thinking.
timing
Because the
is
rock
right.
may take some time.
I would
right?
suggest to put that into the motion when the timing is right, because it's not right.
Yeah, no, it's too hot right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, moved by Counselor Clement. Is there a seconder for that for the trees? Seconded by Counselor Doherty, all in favor, and that's carried. The bell,
Let's move the bell. Without the plaque.
Oh, we haven't got the plaque with the bell.
Deputy Mayor Webb, go ahead.
So I just, I'll make a motion to direct the supervisor of Parks and Rec to investigate a plaque with a picture of the schoolhouse for the bell, and then bring a report back or with the size of the plaque so that we can go from there in terms of procuring a rock that we can mount the plaque to.
Okay, you're moving that, seconded by Counselor Flagler, all in favor? It's carried. Okay. All right, is there anything else in there that you needed, Josh?
No, that-
Okay, so you got the direction. Thank you. All right, the next item here is with regards to your, the purchase of a truck.
So, staff to put in a tender for replacement of our, 2011 long box regular cab. We had 4 submissions come back. One submission was within budget, but it was the wait time until this coming January. So staff had found another vehicle and it can be picked up immediately. It's also within budget. Today we're just seeking direction on what to do.
Okay, the only question I had with it is, the snowplow mount, that's on the 11. Like, if we're going 3/4 ton, I understand some of it's the weight of the water that you're carrying around. That being said, maybe we should have a smaller tank and go with a 1/2 ton. I don't know how often you empty that, but is it possible to put a 3/4 or a mount on this 3/4 ton? Even the idea of the 4-wheel drive, I mean, the whole idea, the other one was snowplow trucks, you'd be able to do some too, maybe, or there was an option there. So I just wonder if this truck here is capable of having a plow mount put on it if we decided to go that direction.
To you, Mayor Martin, for this.
Okay? All right, then, thank you.
Can
Councilor
I
Doyle?
get the budgeted amount? Because I don't remember it being 75, I remember it being 70. What was the capital budget?
Through you, Mayor Martin, we were budgeted for 70. And it was we said the taxes. That's a confusing process.
So that's including taxes.
This is,
Yeah, it's the quote's all inclusive, but because I think the budget was 70, so
yes, it was.
that's the flaw in our budget process, is we seem to think there's something magic about the taxes, we have to write the check for it, so it should be included in the thing, so we can correct that later. If I'm allowed, Mr. Mayor, the truck we're going to dispose of, the 11, is it the worst truck in our fleet?
Through you, Mayor Martin, yes, it is.
And in Parks and Rec, or Parks and Rec and fire and building and everything?
In my opinion, it is the worst truck that the township owns.
So we got rid of the 2004 one, did we?
It's actually a better vehicle.
2000, well, I guess it's almost impossible to get a list of the vehicles we have now to find out what we have. But to me, if we were selling something that's better than what we have, but if you're saying, no, this is the worst one we have, then I'm okay with it, but.
Through you, Mayor Martin, both of our parks vehicles are over the allocated time that we normally keep vehicles for.
I wouldn't.
So anyways, there's a recommendation here and it's what's your thoughts? It's getting tricky. Like at one time we just budgeted and the numbers always work. Where nowadays we're seeing it in every township is seeing it, with inflation and the price of these things. It doesn't work anymore. So last year we ended up going out and buying the works trucks, authorizing the money, and he just went and found what he could. That's why we don't have all red trucks anymore. And that's why nobody has matching trucks anymore, because it's just, you got to take them, especially a 3/4 ton. I know from my own business, these are hard to get. They're not there. So, and it's gonna get worse here in the next month as everybody's looking for snowplow trucks. So we have to kind of go outside of our comfort zone sometimes. This year is a little over the 70. And the thing that we always hear is we get a good portion of the HST back. So that's kind of where that comes in, but it is a little over what we budgeted for. If you look at that number, but you're almost taking what you can get.
May I add to that, Mayor? So through Lionel's workings, if we have budgeted for 70,000, we are able to spend up to 77. The rebate brings that back down to 70. So looking at it that way, is 49 over, we'll get that back.
Yeah.
But that's the information we need. It may save us all a lot of questions, I guess. And the other, sorry, if I can ask one more, and the Dodge, if that's what we decide to do, we're gonna put on gov deals. Where does the money go? that we get from it.
They were recommending that goes back into Parks Reserve.
Equipment reserve or?
Haven't done that yet. We only got one.
Okay, that's what has been bailing us out on some of these overruns. We end up going into that reserves.
To Mayor Martin, in the last 6 years, we've spent almost $30,000 in repairs on that. So that has come out of reserves, so it'd be nice to put some back in.
I make a motion that we allow Josh to get this truck.
Yeah.
I mean, the other one's gonna break down again, right? Like, one last thing.
So moved by Councilor Clement that we approve the recommendation. Right, a second. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb. Any other questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. Thanks, Josh. Item here is Economic Development Committee terms of reference. Barry and Hart. Okay.
We were hoping that, we were looking to council to approve the proposed terms of reference, which is supplied in the addenda. The notable changes were we expanded on the mandate to be more clear and in keeping with other economic development committees. We also noted that there wasn't a vacancy term. We've added that. We increased the number of representatives. They had been increased, I think 2 years ago, but the terms of reference had not been updated. They were the notable changes to terms of reference.
Okay. Mayor Webb, you chair of it. Is there anything?
No, Sherry explained it pretty well. Few minor housekeeping issues there in terms of trying to expand the committee a little bit and bring a few more members of our community into the fold. Just ready to answer any questions, council.
Okay. Councilor
Or
Clement.
Sherry can.
Okay, I have two questions, actually. So number 10 on the reporting, we're talking about minutes. We only meet 6 times yearly, right?
That's, yeah, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, we meet bi-monthly.
Right, so do you not think it'd be relatively easy to give us minutes or a report?
Through you, Mayor Martin, we do supply minutes.
I do, okay, because,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought I read that, oh, this is, okay, maintain and provide to the township, okay.
Through you,
Or
Mayor.
it's not necessary for the committee to submit reports to the council.
Mhm.
That's the part that I'm thinking, I'd like to see the minutes.
Through you, Mayor Martin, not only do we supply them to Clerk Bob Angione and Deputy Clerk, but we also post to our website as well, so they're open and available to it.
Okay, no, I guess sure, because this is not necessary for the committee to submit to the
This
council.
is a long-standing term. We did not change that. It stands as it did prior to our modifications. Do you have thoughts on that? In terms of
So where are you looking?
It's-
Councilor Clement?
item 10?
And
Report 85 of 120. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it's just the way it's worded. In the,
It is.
well, no, but I'm just saying, like, I know what you're getting at. It says it's not necessary
Yeah.
the committee submit reports out. Following each meeting. So to me, does that mean like the next meeting, or is this like she could submit it 2 or 3 meetings? Because that's what happens sometimes is the committee meetings will come in groups, right? So.
And if I could, just a point of clarification through you, Mayor Martin. I think how it reads, it is not necessary for the committee to submit reports to council following each meeting. However, meeting minutes must be maintained and provided to the township clerk to form part of the official records of the township. So the distinction is reports versus minutes. Last, I think it would be August 5th meeting, I provided a semi-annual year-to-date economic development activity report. That would be a report example. And again, that is not stipulated within here.
This is the way it's read, Sherry.
Yeah, minutes are required, just to be clear.
And these committees are advisory committees, so pretty well everything, if there's anything, it's gonna come back to us anyway.
Yes,
And these are on the HBM website?
on our township list.
Okay, yeah, okay. And sorry, I had a second question.
Mhm.
The next one was about budget. Just out of curiosity, what kind of expenses would you guys incur?
Through you, Mayor Martin, we have not incurred any direct economic development committee meeting expenses. We've not held separate, like, for example, if we hosted a meeting that was open and perhaps invited the town as part of the town hall, that there might be expenses related to that.
Okay.
However, through the economic development budget, we would typically see those expenses incurred, but I've not applied any expenses to the committee.
We try to keep our expenses down.
Thank you.
Some of the other communities should do the same.
Okay. All right, so the recommendation here,
Maybe that's just semantics, but it says to advise. It uses that advise and advice pretty. Are these just not recommendations that come from the economic development committee?
In terms of the mandate under.
Yeah, the very subvert the goal like that.
So, through you, Mayor Martin, the members reflect business leaders. Some of them are currently running businesses within town. There are former business leaders. We have advisors from the chamber. We have advisors from Peterborough or the Economic Development Agency. And so the language advice is to draw on their experience as well. So we will bring forward recommendations as well as advice.
okay,
And if I may, it says here, members are generally a township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen business license holders.
Direct me to the area that you're
It's
looking at.
83, and it's under members. Yep, but third, sorry, Sherry, it's not the third paragraph.
All right.
License holders,
Business license holders. So, so members will generally, township of Havelock-Belmont license holder or employed by a township of Havelock-Belmont licensed business. So, businesses, if you have a business license, you should be able to operate within the province of Ontario. However, some of our members no longer have businesses. They've retired from those. They still bring terrific experience to the table without having an active license. But we have a number of members who are licensed business holders within the township. For example, Richard Wood representing his business, which is Woody Burger and Pizzeria, JJ Hudson, Remax, and others.
okay, thank you. Okay. The recommendation is the council approve the proposed updated terms of reference for the Economic Development Committee. Move that. Moved by Councilor Flagler, seconded by Councilor Doherty. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Next item here is private road grants and this is with regards to our first application for the private road grant program.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, we do have our first application to the private roads grant program from the South Connors Bay Road Association for Fire Road 75. There was damage to the road earlier this year. All the detail is provided in the report, and Mr. Bailey is here in the gallery to answer any questions that council may have.
Pretty straightforward, but
Make a motion. Go ahead with the recommendation. Thank Mr. Bailey and his people for taking advantage of our new program.
yeah, okay, so moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, and seconded by Councilor Doherty.
Well, things got pushed through here today.
All in favor? That's carried.
Can I make a comment? This was a great, wow, you guys did phenomenal. Putting this together, really impressive.
You know, we wanted to get it right the first time.
Well done, well done.
And just, you know, the other reason I'm here, other than to make sure that gets through, is in reading the requirements for this and the way it's structured. I wonder if there's a better way of putting that together
And if there was someone here who I would contact to maybe just tweak it a little bit so it's better suited. For instance, one of the things is that a road grant with a even number can only apply for funding in an even year, etc. Other one, okay? And it's from what I remember reading, I'm of the understanding it's for things that happen that are unusual, like, you know, we had a massive flood there that's going to be up to about 15,000 when that thing gets fixed. Like we've got it almost fixed permanently now. We need a couple more loads of gravel and like that. But we have no way of knowing whether a beaver dam's gonna fail on on one of those years. The other thing I really wonder about is whether there is 10 catastrophes in HBM Township in a year that would qualify to utilize the whole 15,000 to begin with. For instance, if we look at there's another road 84, I forget which one it is. Jen Cummings is in charge of that. You might have heard her name a few times. Last year, she had a major catastrophe there that cost them a good amount of money, probably between the 10 and 20,000 range. But like I say, we don't know when these things are going to happen, so it's difficult. And also, it's the money, although it's you know, we're very grateful that we got it. That was one of the culverts that was scheduled for replacement this year out of our own funding, which we never got to. But because that one got washed out, the cost of repairing a washout is a heck of a lot more than it is of pulling them out and putting in new ones and moving forward. So the other two culverts that we really feel we need to get fixed, by the way, we got 24 culverts on 8.4 kilometers of road, which is a lot. But we had 3 of them scheduled for replacement this year. Now those other 2, they simply have to wait another year. And we just keep our fingers crossed that, you know, nothing bad happens there. So although the program, I'm sure it's well received by all the road associations, I think maybe it can be just brought forward a little bit and made to more to work with our situations here. And I'd be happy to sit on any subcommittee of whoever, and I'm sure you'd be able to find other presidents or members of road associations that would be happy to give you some input so that we could maybe better tune it to meet our needs, and say to perhaps get some money in our hands prior to these events happening. By these are the 3 culverts we want to replace, for instance, this year. And this is what our approximate cost is. So when we get our money ahead of time, and we can get better use out of that $1,500 than paying for something like what we had to.
So I think that's the idea around the grant there, just talking to CAO. It wasn't really for emergencies, it was for if you have some capital projects that you're thinking of doing, like you say, you were gonna plan on doing those culverts. We're just late getting it going, unfortunately, but yeah, and it is a work in progress. So if there's any suggestions, I think that'd be great. Input is welcome because it's first off, so there will be some tweaking that needs to be done. And if you have any suggestions, you know, let Bob know. If we do end up setting up a committee, I'm sure you'll be called. But yeah, put together any of your thoughts, because yeah, some of the ideas around it were, if you had a culvert that you think is going to need replaced, I'm just using culvert, you know, but that's what it was for. And I'm sure it could be perfected a little better. And the odd and even was the thing of, it's not that much money, so it's probably going to go through pretty quick. So the idea, I think, when we brought that up last term was that it would help make it go farther. Because it can be, it'll be eaten up pretty quickly, you know, 10 roads, or whatever it is, you know, but there needs to be a point in there too, at the end of the year, if there is some left, maybe there's an opportunity to, have some other wording in there that, you know, if one of the even roads has something that they're worried about a blowout and they wrote a letter and it comes to council, there might be, you know, but maybe the policy needs to say that in it. I don't know, but if there's any suggestions you have, send it in to us or give us a call, even any of the counselors, and, you know, we'll make sure we can look at it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
All right,
Have a good day. You too.
take care, Mike. All right, the next item on the agenda is strategic plan.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, earlier this year, a request for proposals was issued regarding a strategic plan. All the submissions came in over budget. So staff has gone out in an attempt to find other suppliers with respect to a strategic plan. We received 3 submissions. 1 refused to resubmit at the lower budgeted amount. So we have 3 viable options. Praxis, who did the County of Peterborough strategic plan earlier this year. Colliers, who finished number 2 in our previous ranking, agreed to do a at budget strategic plan, which would be totally virtual. And Eric Lockhart, who does strategic plans through Queen's University, and their Executive Development Center. That quotation would probably be higher. I would suggest it would be 10 to 15,000 when all expenses are done, and if there's any community consultation involved.
Okay, so, yeah, so the options are here. Without getting too wrapped up in the price, Eric Lockhart, you know, I have talked to others and he did come up with a good recommendation as far as quality. You know, I know the township or the county used Praxis. You know, I'm not sure, it's not finished yet, so I don't know what to think. But anyways, this Eric Lockhart, I think it came across the table last term and we ended up going on our own and doing our own strategic plan, but what council thought.
There's a question through, Mr. Mayor. Praxis, what are the related expenses? Like, with respect to practice?
If you ask them to come in person, for example, and there's overnight accommodation of any sort, that kind of thing. If you ask them to do a larger public consultation, there could be additional expenses in that.
Colliers is all inclusive, I take it.
It's all inclusive,
That's
completely virtual. Yeah.
So does that mean there's no real public?
No, they would do a public survey.
Okay.
In order to obtain public consultation.
Okay, so what's council's thoughts? Okay, like I say, not because of the price, because it will be a little more than that with some of the related expenses get tagged on. But for Quinte West, I did hear good results from Eric Lockhart. So, you know, I know the price might scare you, but it's up to council. Or we don't have to do it, we already, whatever.
Through you, Mayor Martin. So is it possible that Eric Lockhart could give us an estimate of what his expenses would be? Is there? Because I'm not understanding the and related expenses and it comes out to 30,000. That's.
Through Mr. Mayor. This Eric Lockhart, did he come in the first round too?
No, he did not.
He's just showing up here. Like, how does he get?
He did not bid.
He bid on the last term.
But he wasn't on the first one.
No.
Correct.
Okay.
And that was almost the same price we had last term. It was 3,500, we went to 3,600. So, but that was at the start of last term. We bid on it.
Yeah, but so Sorry, Kathy, through you, Mayor Martin. So is the 3,600, is that just his cost? That's not actually him doing the work, that just is that's what he's gonna charge for it. And then he's gonna do the work and charge us for the work of the strategic plan?
No, that's his fee to meet with council and
Oh,
facilitate a strategic planning session.
okay, and that's one time meeting with
That's
us?
one time.
So if we asked him to come back a second time, it would be another
That
36,
there would be
right?
additional expense, right?
Oh, wow.
Okay, Councillor Clement.
I just want to, so he's associated with Queen's University, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that's only Kingston. So does he do virtual and in person?
Yes.
Just to clarify.
Yes,
From 20 West Houston?
That's who I heard from.
Okay.
That was at the start of our process.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Doherty, go ahead.
So in the presentation, Collier has got a fairly comprehensive with what they're going to do for it. Lockhart is just come and see, is that, am I understanding it? Collier's put out exactly what they're going to do and how they're going to do it under their quote, right? Am I picking this up right?
that's right.
Okay, so Lockhart, this is for a visit and us to find out what we want to do, and then we do as a counselor.
No, through you, Mayor Martin, this is to facilitate a strategic planning exercise. So he would come, talk to council, and then create a strategic plan based on that discussion.
And just have another, do we really think that we can have a strategic plan done virtually? That's the question.
Yeah, everything is,
It's tricky, but we kind of did that.
I got it to county.
Well, it's because they're in person.
She ends up coming to present it in person. But she did the interviews on virtual, so. Yeah,
And we. Sorry, maybe forgot, because I think the biggest thing we have, or one of the things we have here is people getting to our website and doing online items, and we're going to eliminate that if we do it all virtually. Just a question, that's all I'm just asking. Thank you.
okay, go ahead.
Can't even say this, but I'm leaning towards praxis. Sorry, through Mr. I thought the experience we had with the county, I know it's not complete yet, but I liked it. I thought it was productive and will be productive with what we come out with. Like in terms of their what they call the strategy sheet, but it kind of encompasses everything. So in terms of an organization, that to me, that's something that we can have on our website. People can look at. It's easy. It shows our major projects, 1, 2, 3, 4. As I said, I know it's the most expensive, but we've got a lot of major projects. Like we got one, hopefully that's just started here with the groundbreaking at the LTC, but there's 4 or 5 other major ones coming between sewer treatment, new admin building, roads building, blah, 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 that I'd like to have to make sure that the plan is nailed down for us moving forward. So to me, as I said, I'd pay the extra money to go with practice because I've seen what I think we'll get out of them. Nothing against Mr. Lockhart. It's just with a number that low, I'm very sketchy about what I'm going to get. And it could be great, but
yeah,
if it's not, then everybody's going to say, why did you think I got it?
Everybody's comfortable with what they've seen, and
So-
they have done good at the county. It's it has, they were good.
And just to, I don't know, I should have probably had it for the here. I think I gave you, Bob, one when we came back.
You did,
Because I do
yeah.
have a template of the kind of rough draft we have for the county one, so I could show that to council in terms of what you'd be looking at in terms of hopefully that's the county that will come out. And as I said, it's all laid out there with your strategic vision, departments,
Yeah.
major projects, what year you want them completed in, and it's all basically on one page. So I like
Yeah.
that. So I'll just leave it at that and open it up to the rest of
It's a SWAT program, that's all.
So Okay, go ahead.
Guys, and I hate I hate to put Sherry on the spot, but from an economic development point of view in your businesses, what do you think can we do it? This is a question, maybe it's a line. Can we do it virtually? In your opinion, I'm not holding you to it. What are your thoughts? And you have seen strategic plans for, right?
Through you, Mayor Martin. So in my previous business life, certainly strategic planning was one of my key responsibilities. You can do virtual. I think that if you partner with Colliers or Praxis, I'm sure that you can also choose to conduct your own public outreach. So we could augment that. One of the challenges we face within this township is that there is a whole segment of our residents that haven't access to the internet tools to share the information that we need. So I think you would have to give consideration to having, utilizing staff perhaps with some of that outreach.
Actually, I didn't mean to put you on the slide. I just as interactive feedback on it. Thank you.
Okay, like, it's, if you go with what you're comfortable, what you've seen already, I agree with Deputy Mayor that Praxis has done well at the county. I think it's and I'd be comfortable with that. It's at least we know what we're getting. And we might be able to tweak it a bit for that part of it, for the in-person part of it. Because they did the survey with the public online, so it wasn't, there was no public input, I don't think, but.
I don't hold things up, but Bob, you don't have that sheet, do you? So
No, I
okay,
don't.
try and get it for a second. Let's try and get it for the rest of council so they can look at it.
Through you, Mayor Martin, here's an example of how we can support these initiatives from a staffing standpoint. So surveys would be part of the virtual experience. And when we wanted to move forward with surveying our residents about the community center expansion, when we just put it out in the newsletter and we didn't support it through social media and sort of word of mouth promotion, we had 26 responses. Recognizing that our cutoff date was approaching, we changed our tactics. We chose then to start appealing to that demographic and providing them with printed copies of the survey and really promoting the survey itself through social media. So we went from 26 responses within a week to 126. And I think by the time we closed off, we were, I'm guessing here, but I think we must have been up in 170 or more. And that's a short period of time. So I think there is a way that utilizing simple approach to getting those written survey, in the hands of those that may not have access to the computer and internet. I'm sure that there's a way that we can do that effectively.
Okay, so
She's gonna put it up because it's in our agenda. Okay.
then, so we're trying to get this up on the screen, but in the meantime, Praxis is something that a couple of us are aware of, and there could be some tweaking through staff help, maybe. So it's
But through you, Mr. Mayor, the difficulty with it, right? I'm not disputing anything that's being said, but Collier outlining exactly what they're going to do.
Does the other one do?
Does the other one have it there that I guess they missed the beginning, last page?
Please go page 111. That's the practice.
And it matches up to the Collier one in terms of what they're going to provide.
Yeah, well, they do virtual and they will do, it says they do studies of trends, they look at the stakeholders, blah, blah, blah. They do.
It would be a blend of
Blend,
virtual
yes.
and
Yeah, because here it is, an engagement, they do a report, a full day planning session with council, map, scorecard, review, and it's.
But I guess that's great, but it's that last part that and related costs. We could have them do anything if you're prepared to pay for it. I guess that's what I was trying to zero. What are the basics, and then we can kind of know what we'll pay for. I think it's terribly important. I think we're going to need input, or get as much input as we can from the population. And as Sherry mentioned, perhaps we have to do more of a blend, and we're going to be doing some of the workers like ourselves as a community to get it. They're going to write it with the outline, I assume.
So yeah, sorry, Bianca's nice enough to put up that's what they call a strategy map, so that's kind of the all encompassing. There's more to it, but just kind of lays it all on one page. And as I said, like the top stuff, I guess when it's on cameras. But the hopes and dreams, that's all kind of feel good stuff, but the stuff that I like is kind of, I guess,
3 years.
council 3-year deliverables and down. Because it kind of, as I said, quantifies everything, puts a time frame to it, and that way, they said, both staff and council can be accountable for what needs to be done, right? So.
Through you, Mayor Martin.
Like,
The praxis has and related expenses, so they've already done Peterborough County. How much was their related expenses? Yeah,
We can find that out for you.
I'm just
Yeah,
curious,
I know.
like, is it 50,000? Is it 60,000 that you end up paying for them to come down and do it?
cause they're in Saskatchewan, aren't they?
Something like that, yeah.
Better not make the meeting too early in the morning tonight.
They'll get paid for staying.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyways, there's, so
Moonlight,
Yeah.
it's something that's,
kind of cool.
you know, should have been done a while ago. We should have done it at the start of the term. It is our map for the rest of the term. And hopefully it'll carry into the next term, for whoever, you know, there'll be a bit of an overlap there. So things will be, you know, they won't have to jump right into it on the first year. So, you know, I've only heard one thing so far, like if you wanted to make that motion, see where it goes.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we go with praxis, as I said, just in terms of, from my point of view, and I know I've seen what they've done, right? I understand it is the more expensive of the options, but I think, what we're gonna get from them will be the best for the township, so I'll make that motion.
And it'll probably be like a 4 or 5 year piece of paper that we can work from, and then they really highlight on, you know, it's only as good as if you use it. If you just put it on the shelf, it's no good for anyone. So it is something that they'll make it so you can follow. So there is a mover for praxis. I'll see if there's a second for that.
Can I just ask one more
Yeah.
question? Sorry, so they're the only ones that will do a combination of virtual and in person? Is that what I'm reading? Are these,
No,
no?
Mr. Lockhart would do the same.
Oh, okay, sorry. Well, we don't know what his. He could be a lot more. I'm only the second that. I like what I'm reading on it. I'm only the second that.
Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. Anybody have any questions? Speak to the motion. Okay, all in favor of the motion? That's carried. So. All right. Good. Next item here is correspondence action items. And the first item on here is with regards to the Havelock Plaza. They're on 48 Ottawa Street down at the by Subway. Sherry, you.
Yes, so the owners of the Havelock Plaza, which is where Subway is, Crossroads, they have on the gable end facing Concession Street, quite a large wall there. And they propose to give first right of refusal to the township to place a sign at their expense. So they would provide likely the frame that would stand in front of the wall, and we would then take advantage, let's say, of placing a sign that promotes our beautiful lakes and rivers and some of the recreational activities within our township. That's the proposition that they've provided.
Okay. Questions? Okay.
That's when you come off the highway and go up 46 where the picnic tables are.
That's exactly where it
He
is.
wants a sign, he's offering us to use the sign there for,
So through you, Mayor Martin, it would be, again, an opportunity to advertise the township and advertise the activities. So a lot of communities you'll see, often they'll paint murals on walls strategically placed to promote, let's say, the tourism-based activities within that village or within the township. They've given this some thought. Their thinking is that they don't necessarily want a sign affixed to the wall. They would place probably 6x6 posts, and we could place a sign there. And if it's not us, then it will be someone else within the township.
Thank you, Mayor Webb.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I think we discussed this already. It's a nice idea. There's always around here, people are always looking for new ways to advertise. The problem I have is the location, and that intersection is already a disaster. And by putting in to me, a billboard there, you're just gonna be distracting people to look at the side of the building when either they're coming through, going to Tim Hortons, turning out on the highway. It's just not a good location to me for billboard. If the owner wants to go ahead, like it's his property or whatnot, he can do what he wants. But in terms of us as a municipality, I think it's there's better areas we could put up signs. So
It faces 46, right?
yes.
The county wouldn't have any objection to that, would they?
I don't.
Through you, Mayor Martin, it is, we've already had some discussions with county owned, it's already private property.
Okay, so they could.
Would not be an issue, it would not be for them to approve.
I thought there'd be a setback there.
Through you, Mayor Martin, I'd have to,
Yeah.
when I approached them about it, it was, I thought we would be placing, or they would be placing their sign on the wall, because when it's on the
Yeah.
wall, it's private property. If they're placing posts in front, let's say 6 inches away from the wall, that may pose an issue. I'm not sure, but I know that when it was affixed to the wall, county said that they had nothing to say about it.
So I'm not sure if we're in favor of it anyways, but I think that would be the question if you do go that way. I think there is a setback, like it's kind of like Highway 7, it's 300 feet back or whatever it is, and I think the county has, it's quite a ways back too.
Through you, Mayor Martin, I assumed originally that because you're in the managed corridor there, which is
Yeah,
what you're
you never
referring to. That's my, I said no to it, but our manager of public works suggested I contact the Peterborough County, and they said no, because it's affixed to that private property, that they don't have carriage of it. But I think the point brought forward by Deputy Mayor Webb is a good one. I think that it is a fantastic piece of real estate if it was placed somewhere else. But
Yeah.
it is a visual distraction, which is a good thing for a sign if it was
Yeah.
right by an intersection.
Yeah. So, okay, comment?
I'm sure, what is the cost to us?
Through you, Mayor Martin, we would be responsible for creating a sign, so having it designed, and for its prediction costs. So they're not giving it to us for free. Obviously, they're just giving us first right of refusal to have it placed there. We would have to go through an agreement to understand how long. Is it a 3-year agreement with a 2-year renew? I'm not sure.
And you have no idea what this sign is going to look like, and no estimate.
That through you, Mayor Martin, any sign that goes up would be designed to meet the needs and wants and desires of council to reflect tourism. So that would be on us.
Okay, and one last thing, because of that major accident happened at the end of my street, I'm with Deputy Mayor, I don't think it's a great location, sorry.
Okay, so I'm not hearing anybody in favor of it, so the only other option is that we receive this. It's up to council, but I would suggest we get a motion that we receive this. I totally agree, it's too active around there already, and what they do on their own, once we put the sign up ourselves, it'll be ours, and if something happens, it'll be us. Where if they put something up, that's up to them. It's kind of like Tim Hortons has all them signs on the fence. That's theirs. So anyways, so.
Through you, Mayor Martin. Sure, yeah, I think the sign is a great idea. Yes, it's a busy intersection, I get that. But maybe that could be put out to the associations for the regattas and that kind of activities, because that's something that, I mean, the town, I'm not even aware of any of them until it's, oh, did you go to regatta? When was it? I didn't know. You know, for spots like that, yeah,
So for today, if I could get them, it's up to council, a motion that we receive this and
I'll make that motion to
motion
receive
to
it.
receive.
Yeah.
Moved by Councillor Flagler and seconded by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, the next item here is Leslie Sherpin and Bob, sorry, Bob, no, it's not Bob. Sorry, the Leslie was requesting the council consider joining in the Beacons of Light campaign to recognize British Home Child Day. So this is a nice initiative. For today, I would suggest that we refer to staff on this, on what would be involved, what kind of cost would be in it, and and we can come back.
I'll make a motion to receive it.
Okay, moved by Councillor Doherty that we receive it. Seconded by Councillor Clement.
Here and I watched an amazing documentary on them. It was heartbreaking, really.
Mhm.
So, no, that's.
So we have a mover and a seconded. All in favor? That's carried. Correspondence for information here. Anything there? If not, a motion to receive the balance of the correspondence. Is there any questions on it? If there's any questions, but
Which one are we talking about?
it's the balance of the correspondence for information,
So that's the
the Marmor Fair.
fair and the potential roadside waste recycling pickup, is it? Oh,
Okay.
I just didn't know which word.
Yeah. So motion to receive. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, seconded by Councillor Flagler, all in favor. That's carried. All right, next we move into county council update. I don't know if you have much.
We reviewed our strategic plan, but I believe we've already talked about that. Yeah. Did we? Yeah, that was complete. Right. All right, yeah, I can't remember. But one other item, very little in terms of staff reports, so we have two presentations. One was our strategic plan, the other one was a presentation by former mayor of Selwyn, Andy Mitchell. And he made a presentation regarding a proposal for a 50-meter swimming pool somewhere in Peterborough County. Apparently, there's a lot of competitive swimmers looking for a competitive sized pool. I guess most of the pools around here are at the 25-meter.
They get turned down.
So, well, yeah, because the cost of it basically it's quite astronomical. So there was a good discussion around it. I think he was kind of directed maybe to talk to some of the schools or education partners that have a lot more money than maybe municipal governments do. So that might be a better way to go about it. But anyways, it was a nice discussion, and it's always nice to see somebody promoting sports, health.
Yeah, and that's what he said.
Issues around-
Getting
around
the
Yeah.
communication going, whether it goes anywhere
Yeah.
or not, that was just what he was there for.
And then one other item, Councillor Doherty, I know you've been asking me for this for months, so I have received an update on County Road 48. I believe I told you that. So starting, I think in the spring, I don't know, it's next year sometime, I don't have it doesn't give you a month, but they're gonna do from Chase's Corner on 48, so that would be Mile of Memories in 48 to Freeman's Corners, which is the second line in 48. Speaking with the mayor, I've been getting a lot of, I don't know what the rest of you, but I've been getting a lot of phone calls from people coming out Mile of Memories. Sure, I know you're down a little further from that, but I think the area from, I guess, so it'd be that's Chase's Corners to Freeman's Corners going towards Cordova. The area coming from Chase's Corner, which would be turning the people coming back into town from Belmont Lake to the 6th line is to me worse than what they're gonna do next year. So I've contacted Brian Weir from the county to see if there's a possibility that, because I think that part was gonna be done in 25. So I'm trying to have them flip, so. Mile of Memories to the dump road would be done next year, because to me it's in a lot worse shape. And then Chase's Corners to Freeman's Corners would be done in 2025. Now I haven't got an answer on that. But hopefully it shouldn't be too much of a switch there, because it's really getting really bad. It looks like, you know, there's cluster bombs or something dropped from the air. I've never, it was just pothole on top of pothole. It's almost a waste of time to even send guys out there to fill it, right? Because.
Yeah.
So
Thank you, appreciate
I
it.
apologize for the.
No, it takes time. No,
So anyways, that's, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Martin, when was that road done? Because I recall that road already done.
Yeah, it wasn't long ago.
No,
There's a piece that's done there, Bev.
but they did
They
from
fixed
the
it, they did a
second
patch.
line all the way into town.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh yeah, I don't know how long ago that was, but even the stretch I'm talking about, if you go through there, there's a really
Yeah.
good stretch that's been done, I think maybe last year. So it's really your
Yeah.
teeth rattle, and then you get about 20 seconds of fresh pavement.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, before you go around the corner there to come up to the dump, it gets really bad. And that's what I'm hearing from people is, and I've seen it myself and I've done it myself, is on the inside corner of that is where it's really bad. So what you have is you have people driving out in the other lane because, you know, they want to ruin their car. So eventually what you're gonna have there is an accident. People keep doing that, so.
yeah.
Okay.
So they
I'm
do
just
have, the
curious
way their
if when it
budget,
was done.
so the way the roads budget works, there is pieces in there for some repairs, like separate from road reconstruction. So they may do like they did that one section, they may even repair that, you know, start working the repairing back. It's kind of like 46 where they were supposed to do so many kilometers a year.
To that, through Mr. Mayor, I was back there, yeah, on the weekend, and what they're doing next year even, there's maybe 100 or 200 yard swat when you first come out of Mile of Memories and head east. But after that, like up and over the hill is good.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's why we'd have to have the discussion with Brian, but I don't know.
Yeah.
How much work, if that whole section needed to be done, or if they could just do part of it, right? And address something else.
Right, is it Peterborough County doing that?
So this year they're doing 50. Prunty Road is being done in
Right now?
over the next little
Started
while.
this morning.
Oh, wow. Well, that's really.
And that's all the way, that's a joint project with Northumberland too, so.
Well, their road is fine.
Yeah.
If one-
So, okay, so, other than that, that's, maybe a motion to receive the, update from Deputy Mayor Webb. Moved by Councillor Clement, seconded by Councillor Doherty, all in favor, and that's carried. All right, our next item here is that we don't have any written or notice, or is there any oral notice of motion? Hearing none. Other business. Councillor Clement, you had a request on there about our December meeting.
I do. So I'm asking if council would consider changing we only have one meeting in December. He would change from the 5th to the 12th, which would also work out because I believe that's the same day that Lionel was going to present his budget to us. But I just wonder how people would feel about changing it to the 12th.
And this is for the Junie auction with.
Yeah,
Kind
because-
of with the community care and.
Community care, it's a huge,
Following on.
huge event for them. Last year we had 2 staff. It's a big thing, and community care does a lot for this community, so I'd like to support them if possible, but that means that we'd have to change our council date if people would think about that.
So we have one meeting in December and it
Just
would be a
one.
matter of moving it 1 week farther out, so.
Well,
Okay,
Didn't sound scary.
so maybe down to Camelford or something.
Mayor Martin, Kathy, you have to be at this Toonie council,
No,
because
no.
you are on council,
Right,
right? And I
yeah.
get that the Toonie thing goes on,
Mhm.
but it is.
No, I just asked because prior to this, the mayor's wife always attended. It's a huge event for Havelock.
Yes, I
And
get
we are
that.
supporters of community care. No, I do not have to be there. I was just asking on their behalf.
yeah, it's a great event. I've been to a lot of them and, you know, it's a big fundraiser for them, so. That being said, it's, you know, it's
Fine.
the council.
Here, Mr. Mayor, what time of the day is it?
It is-
Maybe give me a little heads up here. Is it morning, afternoon, evening?
Usually around like- I think
I'm not
my-
sure.
Starts at 11. 11, thank you, sure. Yeah, it's 11 till 2 or 11 to 3.
Yeah,
Okay, no, thank you.
Yeah, so,
I mean, and that's fine, you know, if you don't wanna change, that's fine, I totally understand, I popped over my lunch hour last year, that's fine.
yeah,
I just said I would ask on their behalf.
so it's up to council. It's a simple change. You know, as long as we stay on the Tuesday, it's not a big deal, but,
Excuse me, well then, what? If we're gonna have a full day on the 12th, so we're gonna have. On the 5th, would that make it a super full day or 3 hours? Like because that meeting scheduled for, Lionel's got us in for the final approval that day and I wouldn't want to upset the.
So, sorry, for just first question, I guess I didn't read this year's schedule. Why do we only have one meeting in December?
I don't know, it's the way it was laid out. I think last year we always have, so.
I missed it, obviously.
Yeah.
Secondly, I don't, the change is
Not
fine,
fine.
no, the change is fine, I understand that it's nice, it'd be nice to have council represented at that event. That being said, with one meeting, does that mean we're gonna have budget meetings in December?
There was a meeting scheduled for the 12th. He was gonna present. It's on his, it's on his.
And
it's on his list.
to that,
Yeah.
to my point with that is, that should be, if we're gonna move that to the 12th, then the budget, one of them's getting moved, we're
Yeah,
not
that's
doing
right.
both on the same day,
No.
so.
Alright, so you wanna stay as a fifth one,
Yeah.
that's fine, that's okay.
And I am a little bit concerned about only one meeting, but I guess I'll wear that because I never caught it.
Okay, so, all right then, so we'll leave it at that. Motion to leave it. You want a motion to leave it on the fifth, or we don't need a motion or anything? It's no direct motion.
No, I can read a motion.
Okay.
Just a thought, why can't we have the meeting from 9:30 to 11, break for lunch and collectively go over and spend some time at community care and then come back and finish it,
Yeah.
the meeting there, and we maybe accomplish two things at the same time, show some support, but it's just a thought.
Yeah, like, you know what, there is a way of taking it, like, rather than rushing the hour in, if we took a recess for till 1 o'clock even, and then
Whatever,
come
yeah.
back, it kind of kills two birds with one stone. I don't know, that's an idea, so,
And I do appreciate that, Jerry, you know, like, community care asked me, you know. And
They're big contributors to it.
so we'll leave it as it is and we'll work around the schedule for the agenda. So,
thanks.
thank you. Okay,
It's a fixed out again.
okay.
Can I ask a quick question about that? Just for planning, will there be planning items on that meeting as well for notices? Say 1 o'clock then, or?
Yes.
On the 5th,
Yeah, but.
If we have some in December?
Yeah, because there will be planning, yeah, that'll be the only one meeting, there will be planning meeting, yeah, so.
Do notices for 1 o'clock?
I think we have to crystallize it and tie it down
Yeah.
a little bit because you've got delegations. Like if you
Yeah,
got
like we can
delegation,
get
you
them in the
can't,
morning, but for the planning stuff there, it's pretty hard to schedule a certain time, so it'd be safer to go at 1 o'clock. Like, you don't know how long they're gonna go away, or how many we're gonna have.
We get an hour and a half, right? December, we shouldn't be doing an hour and a half in December, should we?
We can do them for 9:30.
That's what I'm saying, we should be able to bang out that stuff
Okay,
and then come back and then do the rest of the meeting after.
so we'll work on the agenda and make it suit what we're saying here, so we'll just leave the meeting on the 5th and we'll try and, between Bob and you, make that work, that we can get the planning in there, because that has to happen.
Thank you.
Okay.
thanks.
Glad that you're watching. No,
Like me paying attention, I get big.
okay. All right then, so we're gonna move on here,
Only department.
we don't have any bylaw. So, no closed session, so look for confirming bylaw for today's meeting. Moved by Counselor Doherty, seconded by Counselor Clement, all in favor, and that's carried. Adjourned, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb and seconded by Counselor Flagler, all in favor? Carried.